Hi, I'm Rebecca Stringer.
And I'm Jay Mills.
And we are the Kids Know Best Research Directors. So we're here today to take you through our findings of our latest and really exciting global research study.
Following on from our Friends Know Best global segmentation in January, we jumped back into fieldwork to engage with kids and their families around the world.
Families Know Best is a follow-up to Friends Know Best, a study that looked at 10,000 kids globally, aged 6 to 16, to understand what makes them unique. Now that's a hard question for anyone to answer, so we went to their best friends. We understood not only what makes them unique, but actually what makes the friendship group unique as well. A survey then looked at social and friendship values, as well as educational, gaming and social media behaviours. Now we replicated this methodology with Families Know Best in order to extend to preschoolers and to really understand what makes families unique. It goes without saying that a lot has happened this year. A lot has changed, especially in the home. Now we've all spent more time in the home than we could ever have imagined, and for families that has meant a lot more time together. A lot of briefs we've been getting over the last 18 months have been about what's changed, how COVID has influenced change, and we have been looking at that a lot. However, I wanted to start today by looking at some of the things that have emerged and are here to stay. One thing that's happened during COVID is that it's given some families more time to spend together, and as a result, passions and interests have been nurtured. What's interesting now is some kids are taking those passions and rolling with them. We're finding that kids that may not have been into baking are now doing exactly that and have a real interest in it. We expect this kind of thing to stay. Brands that are doing really well at the moment are those that are replicating these passions in play patterns. So it's allowing kids to foster the passion, for example, baking, with their Easy Bake Oven, and without parents having to closely supervise. Get ready for an influx of kids baking and cooking books written by kids for kids. For a long time, digital has either been kids using it for kids purposes or adults using it for adult purposes. But now we're seeing family social on digital. So more parents engaging with things like Roblox and Minecraft and playing with their kids on Fortnite, or some of these dance challenges on TikTok. We've got parent-led accounts, but the parents are getting really involved with it.
So one trend that we're finding increasingly common is kids owning devices at younger and younger ages. We can see tablet ownership really start to kick in from the age of 2, and then actually begins to overtake shared tablet viewing from around the age of 3. Looking at phone ownership, it stays quite stable and low until the age of 6, when it starts to grow exponentially and eventually, around the age of 12, becomes the most commonly used device for watching content, actually overtaking TV in the lounge. With COVID and the numerous lockdowns we've had, we're expecting to see this increase even further, with kids younger and younger having their own devices for watching content. We'll touch upon it in greater detail later, but with kids having little else to do but watch video content this year, it has become a much greater pain point in family households when it comes to deciding what to watch. Kids were already watching content on devices away from the communal areas at home, but device ownership in younger children is seeing a sharp increase in order to ease the pressure of sharing devices amongst family members.
So early in the year, we looked at Friends Know Best. This time, we wanted to look at families, because that's been the trend of 2020 and 2021. Family time together.
And Mummy give me cuddles.
Oh, you like Mummy's cuddles, do you?
Yeah.
Because for a 4-year-old, she really has a great understanding of love, and she really has a lot of love for her family and especially her brother.
I'm an identical twin, which is so crazy. We can read each other's minds. For an example, we went to the shops one day. I went with my gran, my sister went with my mum. And when we got home, we bought the exact same thing.
Nagabulig ako sa panimalay ko. Miskanda mo schedule sa saot. Lahat ng magyapon time para sa pamilya ko. Pag sa mga abyan ko.
Kaligan, kagit pag-abot sa pagbulig sa amon sa tatap sa iyamanghood.
I really like math. I have a YouTube channel and I do ventriloquism with my puppet Rosalie.
His YouTube channel and his crocheting.
1 second, just one of my cards. No, I don't have any sexes. Go fast.
Something unique about my dad is He is a journalist, and he also, on the side, is in a band.
And she's a very, very funny person as well, and she tells great jokes. And yeah, and she's a brilliant friend, so she's totally unique.
Porque soy la mejor en el pasamanos y me encanta colgarme y me cuelgo súper alto.
Og så kan jeg tenke på flere grunner at du jobber så hardt. Og det var liksom nå, så har du vært ute og hugget ved.
Talent!
Modern media, and digital media specifically, means that kids have access to a whole ton of content, whereas before it was decided and presented to them. Kids can now go and find their own niche. And the best thing about digital media is that you don't even need to read. Some videos are so easy to consume and follow, like from an adult finding out how to poach an egg to a kid understanding how to become a ventriloquist. Kids can build their agency very, very quickly because the media itself is predisposed to allow children to start to build up their mastery. And because of that agency, they get more and more hooked. They can consume more content and they actually build their own skills. What that allows them to do, if they have found the right niche, is become masters. And a really important part of mastery is feedback. Now, through agency, they find their niche because they've got lots of access to digital media. They build their agency because they find influencers who they can interact with, who narrate in a way that make it really easy for them to own their development. And then from a mastery perspective, they go into this feedback loop because they can post stuff, they can get feedback and trial things. Platforms allow them to make, create and share. It's really rewarding and it's basically speeding up this feedback cycle. Digital gives kids access to content, development and feedback, but not all digital content is great for this. And children still rely on zonal proximal development where parents, siblings, friends, teachers are a huge part of that development agency. Education-based content is bite-sized and often curated by the kids. There's an opportunity for brands to get involved and actually help curate and pull content together in a channel-like experience. Kids can navigate different platforms. However, this form of learning really relies on the children. For example, having an interest sparked on TikTok, then having the capabilities to search it on YouTube and possibly hunt down communities on Discord and Twitch. One of the things that we're going to be looking at is whether actually this is a good thing or a bad thing, because at the moment, kids seem to be making sense of it. We don't know what the long-term impact on learning is going to be, but kids seem to be working their way through content, albeit with the guidance of adults, teachers and parents. There's a real opportunity here for us to scaffold this great content that they have access to in a way that actually benefits them and their learning. That's why I love working in the entertainment education industry for kids, because we see that there's a real great opportunity here for all of this content to be scaffolded in an even more effective way for kids. So we're spending a lot more time looking at how kids learn, what motivates them to stay with a passion that's actually useful and beneficial to them. Personally, for me, this is just the most interesting space in kids media right now.
Despite a huge 84% of kids 6 to 16 globally saying that they play video games, no kids or families mentioned it in terms of what made them unique. Children are unlikely to categorise themselves as gamers now because almost every child in the world is gaming on a regular basis. There is barely any distinction between ages in terms of who's gaming now, with the massive success of sandbox games like Minecraft and Roblox enabling kids to engage with each other in a safe gaming community from around the age of 6 years old. As a result, gaming is no longer a niche community for a select few. There's no discrimination on age, gender or country. Gaming has become ubiquitous amongst children, and games now represent another opportunity for them to hang out with their friends. It also now represents a safe place where kids can meet new people, share experiences and be creative. Kids see gaming as a place where they learn and master new skills with the help of their gaming communities. Games like Minecraft offer children an opportunity to be creative, be inspired by one another and show off their own skills and mastery. And as a result, more than half of the kids we survey globally are playing it. At Kids Know Best, we're very aware how important it can be for brands to communicate with children in these environments and mesh themselves naturally within these communities. With games like Roblox having fully customisable worlds, there's plenty brands can do to increase their affinity by being there, with plenty having already done it to a great effect. COVID has brought families physically closer. With homeschooling, sibling fights and family arguments, there is now a real understanding of kids' resilience. Kids have had to be super strong during this time, and parents we spoke to are incredibly proud of how they've strived to find new and inventive ways to make this as easy a time as possible. This is important to note because with content viewing, a massive theme we found trending this year has been co-viewing, as well as the need for increased levels of compromise that families have had to develop in order to keep a happier household. As a result, we've seen the more broader age targeted kids content come to the fore, so shows like PJ Masks surge in popularity during this time as a result. The show, whilst it might be considered preschool content, has a stretched audience up to around 6 or 7, meaning it's often been used to provide content that can satisfy more than one child's viewing requirements. And as we can see from this slide, most on-demand video content viewing is done with someone else, with sibling viewing and viewing as a family both key. Bridging the gap between child and parent is another one which has been incredibly important to family households this past year, which is where we found movies really become important for that co-viewing. In particular, Disney Plus came out strong, offering a huge mix of current and nostalgic content for young and old. Making an effort to appeal to the whole family during this time has been hugely important for content providers, and those that have managed it successfully have reaped the rewards. Lockdown restrictions made a little easier by the fact that children and their families generally do get on, with 32% of kids saying that their best friend was a member of the family. When we looked deeper into country distinctions, we found that British and German kids were the least likely to find a best friend within the home, whilst a huge 55% of Brazilian children said their best friend was a family member. Digging deeper into that, we found that for Brazilian children, it's their parents that they're closer with, whilst UK, US and Germany are more likely to be best friends with a sibling or a cousin. What that means is that kids have become more equal partners when it comes to decision making. We've seen plenty of examples where co-viewing bleeds into activity in the household. For example, Joe Wicks and his wildly successful lockdown workouts. They were initially aimed at children, but soon become something that children introduce and involve their parents into. We've seen kids influence decisions around diet and shopping, as well as issues around sustainability. Things that they're learning at school, bringing back and driving change within their home and their parents. The amount of decisions that kids are involved with in the household has exponentially risen. What this represents is an interesting opportunity. We all know the impact of pest to power, but what we're learning is that children's influence is broadening into purchase categories that they never had influence on before. What children want has become something that parents consider more and more in everyday decisions, as opposed to those just pertaining to child-related purchases, and is definitely one to keep an eye on in the coming years. So, finally, how can we support kids and families this year? We can help kids find their niche, help them understand what it is that makes them unique, and provide them with the connected content to support their development. As a brand, we need to develop an understanding of the gaming community and its importance, as well as understanding how to communicate to the kids within it. We need to deliver content for the whole family. Targeted content is harder to break through at the moment, with co-viewing a bigger priority than ever. Providing content that the whole family can enjoy is a real recipe for success at the moment. And finally, representing the new family dynamic. Kids are more of an equal part of the household than ever, and as a result, are more influential in decision making. Understanding this feels like a massive key to success in the future. Thank you to CMC for having us, and thank you all for your time today. Any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with either Rebecca or myself, and we'll be happy to answer them.